Hi, everybody, and welcome to 2023 Family Access Conference. This is a very special conference because it focuses on you, the person that is going through trauma during a very turbulent time in your life. And I am thrilled to be here today to support what Elaine is doing to help all alienated parents and grandparents around the world. My presentation focuses on identifying and learning how to release emotional trauma caused by parental alienation. There is no one that I know or that I've worked with or that comes to us that is not suffering from some kind of trauma due to not being with your loved ones. Trauma is something, however, that you can work through and you can come through on the other side. In fact, here at Dr. Sue and You, we believe that it is imperative that you work on yourself in terms of releasing this trauma so that you can be in a much better place to reconnect with your children or grandchildren. I don't know anyone that I've worked with that has reconnected with their children or grandchildren without working through the pain that is inside of them. And there is a lot of pain that goes on inside of you from this. This is a major loss in your life. And when we have loss, we grieve. And when we grieve, we feel depressed, we feel scared, we feel anxious. And I feel for you. You know, I do this work on a daily basis for one reason only. It's because I believe that there is always hope in reconnecting in relationships that have gone sour or have fallen apart. And I've seen through hard work and dedication that there is ways to break through to the other side in most situations. And today, we're going to focus on you. We're not going to talk about your children or your grandchildren. We are focusing on you and releasing that trauma response that is inside of you so that you can feel better. Remember, I didn't say cure. This is not a cure. We're talking about healing here so that you can feel better on a daily basis to hopefully move forward in reconnecting with your loved ones. So I thank you for being here with me today. And I do hope that you benefit from what we are going to talk about here today. First of all, I want to discuss with you what is emotional trauma. Not everybody is not clear on exactly what this is, and I think it's important that you are aware of this. Emotional or psychological trauma is the result of traumatizing experiences that leave you feeling unsafe and helpless. The one thing that I hear most from people like yourselves that are going through this is that you feel helpless in order to make changes in your life. The first thing that sets in with parents and grandparents that are going through this is a feeling of helplessness, that I can't do this. I don't know what to do. I'm scared. I'm frightened. And you begin to feel unsafe. I'm here to tell you that is completely normal. It's completely normal and it's okay. And a part of this is accepting that that's where you are. I feel helpless too if I couldn't get to my child or my grandchild. But some of the trauma that you are experiencing can also cause you to feel as though you've experienced almost like a bomb went off and you don't know what to do and you're scared and you're frightened. Other trauma can cause physical harm, such as a car accident or assault, but you do not have to sustain a physical injury to experience emotional trauma. And I think people get confused about that when they say to you, oh, things will change or you'll get over it. This is not like that. You're not going to just get over it. You know, you heal, your body heals from physical trauma, but emotional trauma does linger. So I want you to be aware of the difference between emotional trauma and other traumas. Emotional trauma sticks with you. Emotional trauma lingers, but there are ways to decrease the triggers that it is causing you. There are 3 types of emotional trauma, and I'm going to go over them with you right now because I think it's important for you to be clear on what they are and see what you identify with. First, we have acute trauma. Acute trauma results from a single incident, and then it goes away. So the word acute means quick. And a quick trauma is something such as you may fall or something, or break a limb and you're in trauma over that. But with treatment and healing, you are able to overcome that quickly. Then we have chronic trauma. Chronic trauma is repeated and prolonged trauma such as domestic violence or abuse. And many of you are suffering from chronic trauma because the emotional trauma of not being with your loved ones lingers on and it prolongs over time. You know, people talk about parental alienation in many different ways, but I see it as emotional abuse. I'm sure that you do as well. And it is a type of emotional abuse because inside of you, it matches the symptoms of what emotional abuse would be. So I want to confirm that. Then what we have is something known as complex trauma. Complex trauma is when you're exposed to multiple traumatic events that are often invasive and impersonal in nature. Complex trauma is also something that lingers for a long time. And in complex trauma, you are experiencing symptoms such as anxiety, depression, sadness, feelings of helplessness and hopelessness for an extended period of time. And that's probably what you're experiencing here when you're dealing with being separated from your children or your grandchildren. There's no doubt about this. Complex trauma is what you probably are experiencing. But again, there is hope that this can be lifted. So, what are specifically the emotional symptoms of psychological trauma? They are different for everyone, but they seem to coagulate into a certain kind of symptom-based trauma here. And what I tend to experience with people going through this is they have irritability and sadness and mood swings and feelings of helplessness and guilt and shame and self-blame. And I'm wondering if any of those that I just mentioned you can identify with. You know, I talk to people every single day and they share with me that this is exactly what they have been feeling over time, over the years of going on a roller coaster almost of emotional symptoms in trying to reconnect with their children or grandchildren. It is completely normal to feel this way. You know, as you're going through this today, I just want you to know that I am going to keep mentioning that what you're feeling is normal because it is normal for these situations. It is completely normal to feel irritable or sad or have mood swings or feel helpless or feel some shame over this or guilt or self-blame. It is normal in this arena. And I always get upset when people say, well, it's not normal what they're going through, or it's not normal what they're feeling. It is absolutely normal. And I want you to tell yourself this, that it is normal for what you're feeling. You know what that does? It helps you to self-regulate where you are instead of beating yourself up every day and saying, I shouldn't feel this way. This is not okay. I need to do better, or stop pressuring yourself and stop blaming yourself. It doesn't get you anywhere. You've been through a trauma, you're hurting. It is completely normal. When you're suffering, there are things that begin to happen inside of you. One thing that begins to happen is you start to experience personality changes, maybe. So if you were a person before this happened that was very uplifting and happier most of the time than not, things start to change, because what begins to happen is you start to feel broken down, and you start to feel as though things are being taken from you, and your children and grandchildren are being taken from you. That changes your personality. You're not the same person that you were before this happened. That's okay. This is a part of accepting that things have changed and that the trauma has changed you. What I can tell you about this is that if you fight this and you start to deny that this is happening to you, the trauma will get worse. Because what happens inside of us is there's parts of us, there's parts to me, there's parts to you. And when parts get triggered, we have like a million parts inside of us. Our personality starts to change, and we start to put up defense mechanisms inside of us so we don't have to feel the pain. But we're going to learn later in this presentation that if you put up these defense mechanisms, what begins to happen is that you're not dealing with the feelings and the pain. And what begins to happen is you begin to hold those in, and you start lashing out in ways that you never would have lashed out before. We're going to talk about how to release them. Everybody needs defense mechanisms when we're in pain. However, we can put up different defense mechanisms to help us through it than the ones that we think will help us. So your personality does change. There's no doubt about that. But there are things that you can do to move forward from it. People that experience this are in suffering. We can't forget that. I know you're suffering, and I'm sorry for that. What begins to happen also is that you become anxious and agitated and moody. And people may say, "What's going on with you?" And inside you're saying, "What do you mean, what's going on with me? I'm not talking to my children. I can't get to them. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I'm anxious. Can't you understand that?" Absolutely. I mean, I can understand that you are, but maybe not everybody in the world's going to understand that. And then they say to you, "It will resolve. They'll come back." That simply isn't the truth. They're saying that to you because they don't know what to say to you. Okay. And for them, they're trying to do the best that they can. So they're trying to give you empathy. So try to understand that, but it just doesn't help. You are suffering, and I want to help you release some of that suffering. You may find yourself withdrawing or isolating yourself from other people. It's okay. Again, that's completely normal when you're feeling this way, when you're feeling that you can't move forward. Who wants to be around other people when you're sad? Although being around other people can be uplifting, but at the same time, you're inside your own head. And when you're inside your own head and things are circulating, it's very difficult to be around other people. You may find, or you have found, that you stop taking care of yourself as much. Your appearance starts to deteriorate. And I can understand that as well. When you're sad and you feel as though things are crumbling, it's very difficult to want to take care of yourself. But I'm here to tell you again that it's okay to experience all this. But what we don't want to see is that you are stuck here for long periods of time. So I hope you will go through this with me for the rest of the presentation, learning that these things are okay to go through, but there is a way out of it. Now, when we're talking about alienation, let's switch over to that now, because these are the top emotions that I hear from people like yourself that are going through alienation. The top symptom, emotional symptom that I hear about the most is helplessness. And as we talked about before, this is a main emotional symptom that people have during trauma. I'm going to tell you, you're not helpless, but it may feel like that. And the one thing that people come to me and say is, I feel helpless, Dr. Sue. You are not helpless. That's why I do this work, to show you that you are not helpless. But when we feel helplessness, we feel that we don't have power. And I'm here to tell you, you have power that you don't know. And we're going to talk about that later. You're not helpless. In fact, you're stronger than you think. You are hopeful. And when you're hopeful, you're not helpless. There are things that you can do, but the best thing that you can do is work on yourself to get stronger and understand that this is something that can be changed with hard work and dedication. There are no miracles here. People think that there's a miracle's going to happen and something's going to change. The miracle is you doing the hard work to get there. That is the miracle. And you can do it. You can learn new ways to express yourself. You can learn more about what your alienated child or grandchild is feeling. You can learn new ways to communicate. You can learn new language. That's where the power is. Another symptom of alienation that is often brought to my attention is a feeling of paranoia. I'm sure that you can understand that. Feeling like something is always going to happen next, especially when you're in court. Like somebody once said to me, I feel like bombs are coming at me, and I don't know when the next one is going to drop, or when I'm going to be held in contempt again, or when this is going to happen or that's going to happen. It's completely normal to feel that. Bombs are being dropped on you, especially if you're in the court system. You never know what's going to happen next and what is going to come your way. But you can handle that paranoia by learning how to comfort yourself and decrease the anxiety that is coming at you. Meaning you can rise above that and you can handle the emotions that are causing the paranoia to upset your daily routine. The other emotional symptoms that come from this is of a lack of trust. I mean, honestly, right? Let's talk about this for a minute. Your whole sense of trust in people who told you that they loved you and would be there for you is broken. And you can take a long time to build trust with another person. But in a small little instance, it can be broken. And then it takes so much time to rebuild that trust. That is why it is so difficult to get back into your alienated children's lives or grandchildren, because of that lack of trust. They are so scared to trust you again. And you are so scared of rejection coming. Isn't that the truth? Think about that for a minute. So that combination there really is difficult to overcome, but it is possible. It's possible to rebuild trust when you don't have expectations of it going in a way that you would like it to. And we're going to talk more about that later on in the presentation as well. Panic. Panic is another emotional symptom of alienation. Fear. Fear is false evidence appearing real. I've talked about this before in other presentations, but I'm going to talk about it again here because fear is a main component of trauma. When we have false evidence appearing real, that means that we are putting narratives into our own mind and we are believing those stories to be true. For instance, you may say to yourself, I'm never, ever going to see my child again, or I will not be able to get to my grandchildren. Those negative statements right there that I hear from individuals like yourself all the time increase panic. It does not decrease it. These are all or nothing statements. And when you start saying those things to yourself, I never will. It will always be this way. Those are false narratives. You don't know that. But by putting that into your mind, it is exacerbating the emotional trauma that you are feeling. So what do I do with clients like that? What I do is I try to help them reverse that and say, there could be a chance for reunification. There will likely be a chance for reunification if I work on myself and I work on trying to heal this rift in the relationship. That will decrease the panic within you. Panic increases from negative statements. It decreases from a feeling of positivity. And no one can take that positivity away from you except yourself. The other main emotional symptoms are anxiety. We've talked about that before. I'm going to talk about it again now. Seeing an email, seeing a text message from your ex or from your child or from anyone, the lawyer, brings up anxiety and panic within you. Your stomach can start to turn. You can start to shake. That is because you have not dealt with bringing coping skills to yourself in order to relieve that anxiety. I can't tell you how many times I've worked with clients in the past who in the beginning have had so much anxiety and reactions to seeing an email or seeing a text message. And then as we work through their own fears and anxieties and teach them how to train their minds to react differently because our mind and body is connected, that they tell me later on, Dr. Sue, I opened up an email today and I didn't have any of those body sensations. I was able to read it, put it away, and react later on. You see, the thing with emotional trauma is it can be worked through. It can change. You can change your body and your mind to react differently, to decrease where you are emotionally. That is the most wonderful thing about doing trauma work. Another symptom of alienation is shame. Yes, shame. But I don't think people really understand what they're feeling shame about when it comes to this. Later on, we're going to talk about not being a perfect parent or a perfect grandparent because nobody is perfect when it comes to parenting. I certainly am not, and I do this for a living. I've made plenty of mistakes in parenting my children, and I take responsibility for them when I do it. A lot of people going through alienation claim that there's nothing that they did wrong. That's just not true. And I'm here to tell you, you probably made some mistakes along the way, like every single parent does. Maybe you yelled too much. Maybe you said the wrong thing at the wrong time, or you snapped, or this or that. And your child remembers that. Now, is it influenced by other outsiders? Probably. But I'm saying to you, you don't have to go to shame to say, I made a mistake. What you can go to instead is just taking accountability for that. Accountability is different from shame. Shame is when you are in a place where you feel embarrassed, where you feel horrible about what you've done or how you've acted. And you cannot go there yourself because it is too difficult to look at. But what I'm encouraging you to do is to look at the pain and the emotional symptoms that have gone on because of this emotional trauma and take accountability for the mistakes that you have made. It changes everything with your children. Mistakes are not saying that I did this or did things that somebody else is saying that I did. It's taking accountability to somebody and saying, yes, I did hurt you and I'm sorry, because your child has a different perspective than you do. And I've encouraged this over and over. I encourage you to look at your shame if you do have shame about what has happened. Most people do. And once they're able to release that shame, things begin to open up for them. But please do not be confused between accountability and shame. They are two different things. Other emotional symptoms are sadness. I mean, you cannot not be sad, right, from what's going on. It is a sad thing that has happened. And it's okay to be sad, because when we identify our feelings, we work through them. And when we work through our feelings, we let go of our emotional trauma, which then allows us to function in a very different way. One of the emotional symptoms that is not talked about enough, I feel, in trauma that has to go on with alienation is post-traumatic stress disorder. I think this is something that is underdiagnosed when it does come to alienation. This is a situational stressor, but it's also chronic trauma. And when you are going through alienation, you are having flashbacks, you are feeling the sadness, you're getting stuck there, and you are finding that you cannot come out of this. PTSD is something I do believe happens to people that do experience alienation. And what's good about PTSD, if there is anything good about it, because there really isn't, is that you can find coping skills to deal with this. So if you're going to a therapist and you're working with them, ask them about this. Ask them if you are experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder from this. I think it's a good thing to ask, and I think it is a diagnosis that does go along with this. The thing with me is I'm not interested so much in diagnoses as I am in helping people relinquish and relieve the stressful emotions that you are under. But it's always good to know what is going on with you, because I think it gives you a sense of relief as well. Now, coming out of the emotional symptoms of trauma that I just discussed with you, you may have a lot of questions, okay? And people do have a lot of questions. And so some of the questions that you may be struggling with is, what is happening to me right now? How do I change this situation? How do I compartmentalize this situation so that I can move on daily with my life and this isn't hanging over me 24 hours a day? How do I go on daily without my children? How do I let go of my anger? I picked these questions because these are the top questions that we get asked here at our practice. And these are normal for you to ask these questions about what is going on here. Why is this happening to me? I can't answer that, but what I can tell you is there are probably some reasons. And if you dive deep into looking at why is this happening to me, you will be able to look and explore and probably come up with reasons, if you dissect it, as to why this is going on. All right, I can tell you that. So that's actually a good question to ask. Why is this happening to me? I believe, and you don't have to agree with me, but I believe that this is happening for you. I don't believe it's happening to you. And I believe it's happening for you to grow and to learn different ways to be and to learn ways to cope and have better relationships within your life. That is what I believe. When we say that something is happening to us, what we're doing is self-persecuting. And when we do that, we begin to feel awful and depressed. What I get asked almost every single day is, Dr. Sue, how do I change the situation? Tell me how to change it. I can't tell you how to change it, but what I can do is help you to change the situation. I can give you skills to change your way of communicating. I can help you to go deeper within yourself and look at your own issues around relationships. And that's how I can help you to change the situation. There is not, as I said, a magical cure. There is hard work and there is self-exploration. How do I compartmentalize this situation? That's a catch-22 because we do want you to compartmentalize some of what is going on a daily basis so that you can work through whatever you're doing during the day, right? We want you to go to work. We still want you to live your lives. So there are ways to put it away during the day so that you can focus on what you're trying to do. That is creating a healthy balance, even when you're going through such difficult emotional trauma when you're separated from your children or grandchildren. There are ways to compartmentalize it, but we don't want you to compartmentalize it all the time because then you're not feeling anything, and that's not good either. How do I go on daily without my children? It's difficult. It's hard. It hurts. And it's unfair. And I wish you didn't have to go on daily without your children. But again, there's always hope of reconnection. And if you're working on changing, if you're working on developing different skills, that helps you to go on daily without your children. It helps daily to say, I'm here for you, even though you're not talking to me right now. It helps to say, my arms are open for when you do come back. All these things help in terms of going on daily without your children. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's not hard. It is. And it's extremely hard. And that's the truth. The truth is, this isn't easy. But again, there are changes that you can make to bring hope to your life, to function differently. But that doesn't mean that the pain goes away. How do I let go of the anger? Well, you work towards letting go of the anger. That's a process that takes time, and it's not on a timetable. And you work by identifying it, feeling it, letting go of it, and forgiving. That is how you begin to let go of anger. Anger holds us back from moving forward into the future. And so walking around feeling angry every single day is holding you back from the possibility of reconnection. All right. We are soon now getting into the part of learning skills to help you move through your emotional trauma. That's what you're here for. But I needed to do that background so that you know that what you're dealing with is normal. Remember, you're allowed to have these feelings, all of these feelings that we just talked about, because you are in pain. And when you're in pain, you have a myriad of different feelings, and it's okay. It's all right to be in pain. People think it's not okay. They don't want to be there because it feels so bad. Well, I don't want you to feel bad on a daily basis either. But what I do want you to do is recognize that you are in pain, and there are ways to relieve it. Denying our feelings gets us nowhere. When we deny our feelings, you know what happens? They start coming back and start knocking on our door and inside our head over and over until we deal with them. Now, how do you survive this trauma? Okay. You obviously can survive it because you are surviving it. That's the first thing that you need to know. No one wants to be in these situations. No parent wants to be in this situation, and no grandparent wants to be. But I don't want to see anybody as a victim here. I want to see you as a survivor. And you want to see yourself as a survivor. I know that. The first thing I want to encourage you to do is accept that everyone in this is in a family dynamic of hurting. Yes, 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 they are. Everybody here is hurting. You're hurting. Your children are hurting. Your ex is hurting, believe me. Your grandchildren are hurting. Your child is hurting. Everyone is hurting. It's not just you. And I want you to think about that, because what that allows is for you to have empathy towards others that are going through this just like you are. When we have empathy for others, we are more acceptable of what they're going through. And when we understand that, it is easier for us to give to them, even though we feel angry. Second, a survival step is acknowledging and accepting what you are feeling. I cannot talk about this more. If you are not acknowledging what you have gone through here, and not accepting what you are feeling, you are going to find yourself in a deep hole that spirals down a tunnel for a very long time. And I know you don't want to go there because the pain is so hard sometimes. But I'm here to tell you, if you don't go there, things are not going to change. They won't change. I want you to give yourself permission to feel. I actually want you to tell yourself, it is okay for me to be feeling sad today. It is okay for me to feel angry. I have the right to feel sad, and I have the right to feel angry, but I don't want you to stay there. Holding on to emotions charges us into anger. Releasing those emotions help us to come out of the anger and into hope. I also want you to work on acknowledging your fears. Acknowledging your fears helps you to break through those fears. It helps you to take risks. It helps you to know, I can do this and I'm going to be okay. Acknowledge your loss. That's another step to surviving. This is a major loss. You are not with your children right now. Loss is hard. Loss needs to be processed. Grief takes time. The other thing I want to encourage you to do to survive this is to not compare yourself to other people's stories. Your story is your story. Your experience in this is unique to you. It is not the same as everybody else's story. It's not a comparison if yours is the worst ever. It's not. And I encourage you not to do that. What I do encourage you to do is talk to other people that have been through this and share your emotions about it so that you can feel support and comfort in terms that you're not alone. But what I do not encourage is to compare yourself to anybody else's story. They are not the same. And I want you to also acknowledge your emptiness of being erased and not mattering. That is what is happening. And that is the truth. And I know you don't want to go there because it's too painful to believe that you are being erased and you do not matter. And it's easier to blame, or it's easier to point the finger and say, my ex is doing this to me, or my child is doing this to me. But that's not getting you anywhere by pointing a finger. The facts are, you're not talking to your child. And what are you going to do about it to change it? These are empowerment steps to survive what you're going through. And this is where I want you to put your energy. I don't want you putting your energy into the anger. That is destructive. Now, what do we do with all of these things that I just talked about in terms about the feelings that you're having? The best thing that you can do for emotional trauma is sit with the feelings, even though it is scary. Because when you sit with them and you cry through them and you acknowledge them, they pass through and they don't get stuck in a rumination loop inside of your head. So what I want to teach you now is something that is known as the 4 L's. Yes, the 4 L's. These are thought patterns that help you to become aware of your negative thought patterns. And you learn to replace them in real time with self-regulation and self-awareness on yourself. When we're struggling with our emotions, what we want to do is first locate where these emotions are. Then we want to label these emotions. Then we want to love these emotions. And then we want to leave these emotions. So the 4 L's of healing are locating where the emotion is, labeling where the emotion is, loving the emotions and accepting them, and then leaving them. Now let's go through this step by step. So when you leave this presentation today, you have a better understanding of how to deal with and release your feelings. That is the way through trauma, especially in trauma like this that you are going through. Locate it. When you first have an uncomfortable feeling inside of you, it comes up in your body. Our bodies hold on to our feelings. So for instance, when I have a negative feeling that comes up in me, such as feeling anxious or scared, what begins to happen to me is that I get queasy in my stomach and my shoulders start to tense up like this. So that is where in my body I start feeling my feelings. Where in your body do you start feeling that? Is it in your stomach? Is it in your throat? Is it in your back? Is it in your head? I want you to actually think of a feeling such as anger. Where are you feeling that? Because that's where it first starts manifesting within you. Then what I want you to do is label it. I want you to label the feeling that you are having in your body right now. So for instance, right now, well, not right now, but if I was feeling panic, I would start feeling it in my stomach. So I would say, right now, I have this feeling in my stomach. What is it? And I'm going to name it. And I'm going to name it panic. Now what I'm going to do is love it. And what I mean by love it is, I mean, nobody loves having panic. But what I mean is, I'm going to love this emotion. I'm going to take it in. I'm going to say to myself, okay, I'm feeling panic right now. And I'm going to honor it. Then I'm going to say to myself, what is going on right now that I am feeling panic? And I'm going to identify that. I'm going to say, okay, I'm feeling panic right now because I'm feeling that I'm not going to see my child again. That is causing me so much panic right now. But I'm then going to take a new step. I'm going to soothe it. How am I going to soothe this? How am I going to give myself self-compassion? I'm going to bring compassion to it. I'm going to honor it, and I'm going to say to myself, yes, I am in panic right now. I do fear that I may not see my child again, but I am hopeful through the work that I am doing that this will heal, that I will see my child again, and I will comfort myself in knowing that I will. And then what you're going to do is leave it. You're going to leave the emotion. Now, what I like to encourage people to do is an outward expression of letting go of the emotion, such as something like shaking your hands or sitting down and writing a letter to this person, but not sending it, or putting it in a container. Now, what do I mean by putting it in a container? Well, it's a visualization exercise. If I can't let go of the panic that I'm feeling right now, and I've tried for 15 minutes to calm myself, to love it, to honor it, to bring compassion to it, I'm going to open up a container in my mind. I shut my eyes there because I was gonna do it for you. But what you need to do is envision actually like a container that you put food into. And you take those thoughts that you're having of the panic or the fear or of the anger, and you put it into this container. You just drop the thought in there, and you're going to close the container. You're going to say, I'm going to come back to this later when I am able to go back into the 4 L's and do this again. I cannot tell you how successful this is, these 4 L's, for people like yourselves that are going through alienation and are feeling all this emotional trauma. My clients tell me if they practice this, when these feelings come up and they take it in and they begin to learn how to soothe themselves, the panic decreases, the anger decreases, and they are able to feel less of the feeling over time. And that's what I want for you. That is what allows you to go through and process through emotional trauma. So I want you to try this. I mean, it's best to do it with someone that is coaching you or a therapist or someone like that, but you can do this on your own too. This is an educational technique. So you can start practicing this on your own. Now, knowing that, there are 6 steps to release emotional trauma also that I'm going to go over with you right now. Because this presentation is about releasing emotional trauma. Because to me, that is what is needed to move forward and then begin to do the work of reconnecting with your alienated loved ones. So we just talked about the 4 L's. And now we're going to talk about 6 steps to release the emotional trauma. The first step always focuses on emotion. Always. Instead of asking why, ask, what do I need to give myself to release these painful emotions? Do not ask yourself why you're having these emotions. Ask yourself, what is it that I need to give to myself to release these painful emotions? When we are able to give to ourselves and we are able to give ourselves self-compassion, we are able to release emotions. I couldn't give myself self-compassion for a very long time. I'm sharing that with you right now. I didn't know how to do that. When somebody mentioned that to me, I didn't even know what it was. But once I learned how to do that and comfort myself for things that went on in my own life, because let's remember here, no one in this world has gone untouched by something. You're not alone. I understand that. But once I was able to give myself self-compassion and not look for it from other people, a lot of my feelings went away. A lot of my fears dissipated because I knew that I could be there for myself and that I could get through things without reacting in these traumatic ways. You can do this too. I promise you can. I've seen people do it. And so that is your first step in releasing the emotional trauma, is don't ask why it's occurring. Ask, what can I do for myself to release the pain? 2, acknowledge the mistakes you made out loud. That's a great way to release trauma. Don't blame yourself. Instead, search for the accountability and comfort yourself. Now, why is it important to acknowledge the mistakes that you made out loud? Well, one thing is when you say things out loud, you hear them differently and you process them differently. I mean, I acknowledged my mistake. I yelled at my daughter 2 years ago in a moment that I'm very upset with myself about. but I had to take the responsibility for that within myself, that my actions caused her pain. And so I needed to say that out loud to myself a few times before I went and I apologized to her. I said out loud that my reaction that day was not appropriate for what went on. There was something going on inside of me where I felt very tense about, and I reacted in not the most positive way. It had nothing to do with her. It had to do what was going on with inside of me. And as soon as I was able to acknowledge that, I released the blame from myself, and it released so much of what was holding me down and punishing myself for. So acknowledge the pain, say it out loud, accept it, take accountability, and move forward. 3, see, I'm always ahead of myself here because I'm trying to get you to the place that you want to be quicker than maybe you have to, but get there. But my next step is have a conversation with yourself. Now, you may feel that this is nuts, but it's not. I have conversations with myself sometimes, don't you? You all do. You have conversations with inside of your head about what's going on. What should I do? What shouldn't I do? How do I do that? But the conversation I'm asking you to have inside of yourself to release the emotional trauma is more of a self-soothing conversation of saying to yourself, you know what, today I'm not in the greatest place. It's okay. I will get through today. I will comfort myself. I will go and have a cup of coffee and sit by myself. I will take a walk. I will do whatever it takes today so that I do not lash out, or that I do not get to a point where I am so anxious and in so much panic that I cannot function. You can have a conversation with yourself to calm yourself. It works. Start doing it. You see, the best thing about this presentation, I think, is that you're getting techniques that you can apply to yourself to decrease the emotional trauma. I want to put you in a place of self-empowerment. And everything I'm talking about today are things that you can do to put yourself in a self-empowering place to reduce the trauma. The 4th step to releasing emotional trauma is to stop being judgmental. There is an aspect of us judging people that is just natural. It's natural with everyone. We do it. Okay, you do it, I do it, people do it. But when we are judgmental of others, it means that we are being judgmental of ourselves. There's an aspect of us that we don't like or we don't care for, and we're being judgmental of others. I am saying to you here, try not to be judgmental of what your ex is doing to you, or what your child is doing, or what your grandchild is doing, or what your adult child is doing. It is preventing you from getting closer to them. Accept instead, don't judge that they are in the place where they are because of their own perception of what happened here. You're not going to be able to change their perception. But what you can do is change your reaction to them and let go of being judgmental. When we are let go of being judgmental, things open up because we are not being negative towards the other person. Number 5 is I want you to stop playing the same tape over and over in your head of negative thoughts about what is going on in the alienation situation and inside of you. Stop saying to yourself, this is happening to me because I did this or I did that. This is always going to be this way. I am not worthy. Whatever it is, I want you to replace that with I am good, I am worthy, I can heal this, and I have hope. I am not perfect. I want you to start saying positive statements to yourself. If you keep saying negative statements, that's exactly where you're going to be. It is proven that if you replace negative statements and thoughts with positive statements, things begin to become better. You can control that. You can tell yourself these things. So that's another great tool that you have to help yourself. And finally, stop criticizing yourself first. Show kindness to yourself first. You need to show yourself the utmost kindness and compassion to yourself in terms of what has gone on here and in terms of the trauma that you are going through. I don't want you to push it aside and say, I don't have to deal with my trauma. You absolutely have to deal with your trauma. You have to sit with the feelings, not run from them, and process them through. Your whole nervous system will change. Your whole way of feeling every single day will change. You will wake up with more positivity and hope if you do this. Let me remind you as I close this up that no one is perfect. No parent is perfect. No child is perfect. That is what makes us human. And it's something that can connect people instead of driving them apart. Our relationships sever because we're so worried about who's right and who's wrong and who hurt who and who hurt and who is hurting the most or who isn't. All that does is influence conflict. And we don't want conflict. We want to connect people, not drive them apart. So start saying that to yourself. Start saying, I can change myself. I can work through my anger, my panic, my fear. I can work through my own emotional trauma to open up healing with the person I'm in conflict with. Releasing your trauma is the healing, everyone. When we let go of whatever is stuck inside of us, we heal. And when we heal, we grow and things change around us. When we hold on to our pain, we deteriorate. And that's a real reason why some of these connections don't regrow. So please remember that you are in control of your destiny. You have choices to heal from your trauma, and I encourage you to take them. Yes, it's hard. It is so hard to go inside yourself and look at things. It is so hard to look at mistakes that were made. We don't do that because either we felt embarrassed or humiliated. But the greatest thing about doing that is you become more secure. You're able to make more secure attachments, and you are happier and bring some healing into your life. I hope that you enjoyed today's presentation, and I want you to remember that compassion heals conflict. Conflict doesn't heal conflict, and it doesn't heal it within inside of yourself. So open up your heart and open up yourself to yourself. Heal thyself. Heal yourself first, and then relationships around you will heal as well. We are always here for you at Dr. Sue and You. You can always contact us at www.drsueandyou.com. We are giving free consultations daily to individuals like yourself that are going through this. And I want to also encourage you to go to our new virtual reunification classroom, which will help you to begin your journey and your path back to your alienated children and grandchildren. And we are giving a discount code here of LEARN15, which Elaine has to give out to all of you so that you can get a reduced price for the virtual reunification classroom. We are here to help you heal from conflict. So enjoy the rest of this conference, and I wish you much luck in the future. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.